I was getting ready to finish up that video to Piro, but, you know, I find that whole free will, consciousness shit kind of boring. I thought I'd warm up on this one first. More of Ravenwolf. You know, I think I'm finally beginning to understand how this guy's quote-unquote mind, quote-unquote, works.
Okay, Snakepliskinist, the reason why I spoke of the logical fallacies that you committed, for one, about you appealing to novelty. What that was about was because something is so old that you didn't want to believe it. That
Let me stop you right there. Want to believe? What I want has very little to do with it. For instance, I want to believe that I am a charismatic, supercharged sex magnet who is irresistible to all women. I want to believe that. But I don't. Because what I want to believe has very little to do with what I actually believe. It's called being sane.
that indicates that, well, if it were newer, they would you would possibly accept it. You're appealing to novelty because you disregard something because it's so old and you don't find it credible in any way because it is so old.
See, I thought you meant something else by appeal to novelty, and now that you said that, I guess I could go look it up and research the matter, but instead, I'm just going to spitball and tell you how you're using it wrong. Yeah, I am that goddamn arrogant. Okay, well, appeal to novelty, that would be, you know, as you described it, more applicable to something like this. Hey, the new iPhone 5 just came out. We should get it. And you're like, I got the iPhone 4. It works pretty good for me. But this is the iPhone 5. Just came out. That would be an appeal to novelty. There's no, see, or this. Okay, Hugh Grant, he's driving down the street, and this ugly woman is like, hey, honey, want to have a good time? And so Hugh Grant is like, well, I'm sorry, but I have a beautiful girlfriend, Elizabeth Hurley. And so the prostitute says, yeah, but I haven't sucked your dick. I'm new. And Hugh Grant says, well, that's awfully persuasive logic. See, he would be giving in to the appeal to novelty. By contrast, well, for one thing, a gap of a couple thousand years is a little more than the appeal to novelty is meant to cover, conceptually speaking. Another thing would be I would have to accept something of a similar nature just because it was new. And since I am not buying into Scientology or Mormonism or any New Age horse shit, then, again, not applicable, even if you forget about the 2,000-year gap being so gigantic.
So you're appealing to novelty. Anyway, also there was another one, guilt by association, because you say something is so much like, or you say by your opinion that it is exactly like something else.
I'm sorry, what other thing am I associating it with, okay? It's like if I look at you and I say, you are a fat guy with long hair who smokes. This isn't guilt by association. This is me looking at you and describing what I am fucking seeing. I'm not associating you with some other fat-smoking, long-haired guy. I am saying that you have long hair, smoke, and are fat. You. This is what I am seeing. As for the primitive people who had no greater knowledge than that which was available to them, well, obviously they didn't mention anything that people of that time didn't know, like the Earth being round and going around the sun or shit like that. Okay, they were primitive. Like, this is a goddamn undisputable fact. Like, they were technologically primitive. Their understanding of the physical universe was primitive. Like, I'm not associating anything. They were a bunch of primitives. It's just undeniable. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Doesn't mean that it is the same as something else. Because it's only your opinion, first off, that it is exactly something else, and you haven't actually tested it to see if it is exactly like something else. And it's just your opinion, first off. Secondly, just because something is similar to something else doesn't mean it is the same.
Not to harp on it, but what is this something else you keep referring to? I was just describing colorful stories written by primitives. I wasn't talking about any other colorful stories written by primitives. I was talking about this particular set of colorful stories written by primitives that you refer to as the goddamn Bible. All other primitives and their stories are excluded from this particular conversation. I pick up a Bible, I look at it, and I'm like, this looks like, it seems like the things that primitive people would say. I know that the people who wrote it were in fact primitive. Ergo ipso facto, this is colorful stories written by goddamn primitives. What other thing? What?
Therefore, it's guilt by association. Like there's many people that jargonize Christian religion as being a fairy tale.
Once again, I was thinking I could go look up jargonizing as a fallacy, but instead I'm just going to spitball and throw out here what I know of the word jargon. Okay, I think jargonizing is actually developing your own specialized language to describe things to exclude people who aren't in the know from discussing it. Much like the feminism and LGBT people, they develop their jargon, or the way L. Ron Hubbard, when he wrote the book Dianetics, came up with words like perceptic, or the way the church has things like Eucharist, or shit like that. I think that would be jargonizing, but fairy tale is actually a very widely known concept. It's kind of the opposite of jargon. But hell, maybe I'm wrong. I didn't even look it up.
And they say it so many times over and over again, like they're trying to brainwash other atheists into believing that. Well, that's jargonizing it.
Again, I didn't look it up, so I can't say for sure, but just based on your batting average in the proper application of fallacies, I'm going to guess no, it isn't.
That's what that means, jargonize. You actually associate something negative with something, or it doesn't matter, it can be something negative or good, it doesn't matter. But you can associate with something so often and say it over and over and over so many times, people eventually start associating that description with whatever subject you're talking about. It's called jargonizing. You see, I don't care if you're a goofball on the internet or whatever. There are actually some of your subscribers that actually would take you seriously.
And the profound irony here, Mr. Ravenwolf, is that even not being serious at all, the things I say are a hell of a lot more serious than the things you say, because there is actual thought behind them, where you just, I don't know, you read a big book of different kinds of fallacies and you just shout them out like a retard yelling pants in the street, okay? My non-seriousness is better than whatever the fuck it is you think you're doing. I'm just going to throw that out there.
And that's disturbing. And if your subscriber base has a high volume of atheists, whether they be rational atheists or irrational atheists, eventually the ones that are rational will pick up on your little scheme.
Ah yes, my scheme, my evil overarching plan. What's that scheme? Is it just having a personality? Is that my scheme? I'm sorry. Man, I guess I've had a scheme my whole life.
Okay. But the irrational ones are just going to follow you like sheep. So that's the point I'm making to you, man. You know, just because your opinions seem valid to you doesn't mean that they're true. And you're acting like they are true. You're coming across to people like everything he says is absolutely true.
So you're saying that I should think that my opinions aren't true, because I'm just going to try to work through the logic of this. Like, I could think, like, I could hold opinions that I'm not sure I see where you're going with this. If I hold an opinion and then I deem that it's not true, wouldn't I just discard it right then? I mean, I guess I'm doing some of that thinking that you don't like. I'm sorry. I'm going to start forming opinions I don't hold. Oh, damn. I think I just gave myself a hemorrhoid. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
That's the irrationality I'm pointing out about you.
I believe my opinions are valid. How very irrational. I hate to be repetitive, but I mean, I think it's funny that you would say this, calling me irrational for believing that my opinions are both valid and correct. I mean, it would be irrational if I had opinions that I believed were incorrect. Like if I just went around saying, you know what, I think it's a good idea to stick your dick in a waffle iron. I mean, I know that it's not, but I still have that opinion. That epitomizes the concept of being motherfucking insane in every goddamn way.
So good luck with whatever the fuck you're trying to do. And thanks for the 4 videos mentioning my music channel name. I love the publicity.
Well, you're welcome for the shout-outs, Mr. Bruce Shepard, and might I suggest that you focus your energies on making music, because whatever it is you're trying to do with your logical fallacies, you're falling short of the mark. Yeah, it really just sounds like a person shouting out random fallacies for no apparent reason to sound smart, but it just doesn't. Again, that's just my opinion. I mean, even though I hold it, I actually don't believe it. Have a nice night.